Welcome to Mind Your Health podcast, dedicated to empowering you on your journey to optimal wellness. I'm your host, Dr. Connie, bringing over 25 years of experience in psychology, nutrition, physical therapy, functional medicine, and yoga. Together, we'll explore the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit, providing you with the practical insights and holistic strategies to elevate your health. Let's dive into today's episode and take a step closer to a healthier, more vibrant you.
Hi, it's Dr. Connie. Today's episode is all about the power of the sacred practice, yoga. And I really want you guys to understand the implications of the practice here and why I branded my whole business around yoga, called functional yoga medicine. You see, yoga was my lifeline long before I understood its true power. And in the face of autoimmunity, kidney failure, a transplant, a failed transplant, and ultimately the removal of that transplant, my body has endured what many would call insurmountable pain. But through it all, yoga has been my sanctuary, guide, as well as homecoming. And let me explain why that is. Because for years, I searched for answers. Conventional medicine offered treatments, but nothing truly addressed the deeper suffering I kept running up against. Doctors prescribed medications to suppress the symptoms, and specialists ran tests after tests and adjusted the dosages, but nothing seemed to touch the core of what I was feeling. I wasn't just experiencing physical pain. I was unraveling, losing pieces of myself with every diagnosis, every procedure, and every setback. I remember sitting in the sterile exam rooms in the hospital, the scent of the antiseptic thick air in the air, listening to physicians explain my conditions in clinical terms. They spoke of immune dysfunction, inflammation, and organ failure as if I were a collection of symptoms rather than a living, breathing human being. And their words carried the weight of finality, offering little beyond a regimen of pills, restrictions, and the vague promise of quote-unquote managing my disease. But I didn't want just to manage. I wanted a way to live. I wanted to reclaim my body, spirit, and a sense of self and control. Yet, nobody in the medical field at the time was asking the more profound questions. I felt so alone, like a subject in an experiment. Why was it that my body was turning against itself? And what was at the root of this imbalance? And was healing even possible? Or was I simply meant to endure the countless amount of procedures? Because it felt to me like the doctors really didn't know. And the answers I craved weren't in the research papers or the prescriptions, which they kept throwing at me. They lay somewhere deeper, somewhere beyond the reach of medicine alone. So I needed more than symptom relief. I needed an understanding. I needed a connection. I needed a path back to myself to patch things back up. And that's really when yoga entered my life. And at first, honestly, it was just another thing to try, another tool in my desperate attempt to stay active despite the relentless fatigue and the pain that I was experiencing. But what started as a physical practice slowly became something else entirely. A doorway into a kind of healing I never knew existed or needed. I needed something, though, more than just a way to manage my symptoms. I needed a way to heal on a fundamental level. That is when yoga entered my life, and first as a form of this movement and exercise, eventually as a profound practice of self-discovery and transformation. When I first turned to yoga, it was simply a way to stay active, like I said. And it was strengthening me, allowing me to really stretch my body in a way where it felt really good. But yoga has a way of unraveling you in the process, peeling back the layers you don't even know you had built up around yourself. Layers of expectations, had so much anger, shame, conditioning. The version of me who I thought I was versus who I was supposed to be versus who I truly am. The layers of fear, of control, of resistance. And at first, I didn't even recognize how much I had been carrying, how much I had armored myself against my reality. And I didn't know how much shame and fear I had within me. And then the pain came. Not just the chronic pain of autoimmunity or the crushing exhaustion from kidney failure, but the kind of pain that brings you to your knees. The type of suffering that makes you question everything. Your body, your faith, your will to keep going. The kind of agony that leaves you gasping for breath in the middle of the night, wondering if you will wake up in the morning. I was that sick. I found myself staring into the abyss, feeling the death knock at my door, whispering in the silence. And there were seriously moments I wondered if this would be easier to just surrender to it or to let go. I was stripped, raw, with nothing left to hide behind. But in that darkness, something shifted. When everything was taken from me, when my health, my identity, my sense of control was shattered, I was left with one truth. I was still here. My heart was still beating. My breath still flowed. And in that moment, something inside me refused to give up. And with painful clarity, I saw how much of my life I had spent resisting, grasping, and clinging to an image of myself that was no longer real. I had to strip away the illusion, and I had to get honest with myself. There was no more waiting for doctors to save me, no more wishing things were different, no more letting fear dictate my choices. So I simply, with resolution, made a decision, one that would change everything. That I would not just survive, but I would figure out a way to thrive. And yoga became my way forward, not as a workout, not as a routine, but as a path home to myself. It demanded that I sit with my pain, breathe into my body, and let it teach me. It showed me that healing wasn't about fixing what was broken, but about remembering what had always been whole within me. It taught me that my body was not my enemy, that suffering was not a punishment, and that even in the face of unimaginable hardships, there was still peace to be found. As the layers faded and stripped away, I began to see myself fully, not just as a patient, a person managing illness, but as a soul on a profound journey of resilience, awakening, and becoming. And once I saw that truth, I could never unsee it. I had this inner sense of knowing what my purpose was. And yoga gave me space to breathe, space to feel, space to exist without judgment, without expectation. And in that space, I began to form the most beautiful, intimate, and compassionate relationship with myself. No longer was I a body trying to function. I was learning a being learning to thrive in whatever form my life took. And the more I practiced, the more I realized the body is just a vessel. And within that vessel lies infinite wisdom, strength, and peace. I had to break away from the reality and really step into my power. And I used to think this was just something that was said in the spiritual realm, but I really understood what that meant. Because the truth is, autoimmune disease can feel like a betrayal. When your body attacks itself, it can create a deep mistrust and resentment deep within, and a lot of fear. The kidney failure the medications, the surgeries, the crushing fatigue against all that I've built all my life. All of it could have led me down a path of bitterness and despair. However, yoga helped me to shift my perspective. Instead of seeing my body as an enemy, I began to see it as my most excellent teacher. Every symptom, every flare, every setback, each one carried a lesson. And as painful as those lessons were, they opened me to a deeper understanding of my own personal power. Spiritually is often seen as something separate from the body, something intangible, something that exists in the heavens or in realms beyond our reach. But yoga reveals the opposite. The body is a sacred vessel through which we experience the divine. We touch something greater than ourselves throughout this body, through every inhale and exhale, and through every sensation of pain and pleasure, through every moment of stillness and movement. Before I truly understood this, I spent years feeling disconnected from my body, as if it had betrayed me. The autoimmune disease had turned my cells against me. The relentless cycle of illness and medical interventions made me feel trapped inside a body I could no longer trust. But yoga helped me to reclaim that connection, not by forcing my body to be something it wasn't, but by simply allowing me to be present with it, to listen, to feel, to honor. The breath eventually in my asanas became my prayer. In every deep inhale, I was receiving life. In every exhale, I was surrendering to it. The simple act of breathing, something so quickly taken for granted, became direct communion with the divine, all within me. It reminded me that no matter how broken I felt, something more significant was still moving through, sustaining and holding me. And in the quiet moments of meditation, I found myself peeling away the layers of external noise, the fears, the expectations, the roles I had played for so long. I sat in stillness, and in that stillness, I began to hear something I had long ignored. The voice of my own soul, a voice that was always there, but had been drowned out by the chaos of survival and life. And in the rhythm of my breath, I saw interconnectedness of all things. How the same air that filled my lungs had once passed through the trees, the oceans, the mountains. The same life force within me also moved within every living being. That I was not separate from the world or any of you, but part of its sacred design. And that everything is supposed to be exactly the way it is. And in the surrender of the Savasana, the final resting pose of each practice, I learned to let go, to trust, to allow. And in that space of deep stillness, I felt the presence of something infinite, a vast, unshakable peace that existed beyond my suffering, body and mind. This is the truth that yoga revealed to me. We're not just physical beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a physical experience. And when we recognize this, we begin to see life differently. Every challenge, setback, and a moment of pain becomes an opportunity to awaken, remember, and return home to ourselves. So this illness, all my pain and suffering has turned into the most delightful lessons. And I'm glad I learned them, as well as I am still learning them. And through yoga, I have come to see the sacred in all things. In the way sun rises each morning without fail, in the way a river carves its path with patience and grace, and in the way of our lives, desperate or despite everything, continue to carry us forward. And when we learn to see the divine in everything, we begin to live life differently, with more presence, more gratitude, and more peace. And that's available to you as well as me. Because in essence, we are connected. We're in this together. And this is why yoga is just not a practice, but a way of being. A way of awakening to the truth that has awakened or always has been within us. A way of aligning ourselves with the flow of the life itself rather than resisting it. And so, as I stand here today, having faced the depths of struggles and illness, of loss, of surrender, I no longer fear what is to come, because I know now that even in the most challenging moments, there is something greater holding me. Something is guiding me, and something is reminding me that I am not alone. And neither are you. We're not separate from nature. We are nature. The same intelligence that allows the tree to grow, a river to flow, and the sun to rise each morning exists within us. When you truly see this and feel it in your bones, life transforms. Acceptance, gratitude, and peace are no longer things to be sought. They just simply are. And so, as I reflect on my journey, from the depths of illness to the expansiveness of self-awareness, I am truly in awe. Not because my struggles are unique, but because they are universal. We're all going to face pain, loss, and challenges that threaten to break us. But the truth is, we're never broken. We're always whole. We simply need to remember. This is why I share my story today, not for your sympathy, not for validation, but to remind you that you too have this power within you. And if you are really honest with yourself, you see yourself in my life through all the struggles and suffering, because you understand what that is. And sometimes we don't have the right words to say, because I certainly never learned how to express. I just was drawn to the rigor of the scientific world, searching for answers there, when all along there was something greater and bigger to be experienced. So whether it be with your health, mind, relationships, or simply the weight of existence, know there is another way. A way to come home to yourself. A way to find peace amidst chaos. A way to cultivate strength, resilience, and deep inner wisdom. And I just want you to know this is what functional yoga medicine is about. It's not just a practice. It is a way of life. It is about equipping yourself with the tools to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It is about stepping into your power and learning to trust in your innate ability to thrive. And this is a personal invite. If my story resonates with you, and if you're ready to embark on your journey of healing and transformation, I invite you to join me. Whether through our online functional yoga medicine membership offered worldwide, launching March 1st, 2025, or our classic yoga teacher training at 200-hour, 300-hour, and our functional yoga medicine certification, you'll gain the skills to improve your own life and to help others to do the same. What a gift. So this is your invitation to see yourself fully, to create a space for healing, to embrace your truth, embark on your journey. It's never too late. You can start today. You're never too old. You're never too young. You're never to anything. And you are just as you're meant to be. I invite you to step into a life of boundless possibility and start trusting and cultivating the best relationship you can have, which is with yourself. So the journey begins now. Are you ready to take the first step? The links are below this episode for the 2 programs that we offer. You can check them out, at least subscribe so that you and I can stay connected, and always find me at Dr. Connie Chung. Instagram is my social media of choice, as well as this podcast. So please subscribe, leave me a review. I read every single one of them. And let's do this together and empower ourselves through the practice of this internal healing journey. Thanks, you guys. This is Mind Your Health podcast, and I will see you guys all next week. Bye.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Mind Your Health podcast. I hope you found our discussion insightful and inspiring. Remember, your journey to wellness is a continuous process, and every step you take brings you closer to optimal health. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit. Stay also connected with us on @Dr. Connie Chung on YouTube as well as Instagram for more resources and updates. Until next time, take care of your mind, nurture your body,